Hi, this is Yolanda Van Veen, and in this segment we're going to learn all about how to transplant tulips. Now, tulips are a gorgeous cut flower and a gorgeous flower in containers, and many times we get them as gifts for Valentine's Day or Mother's Day, and then they bloom and then they die. Or you have them in a container and they bloom and they're gone. So what do you do with them afterwards? How do you transplant them? Well, there's some easy rules that you should follow. The best time to transplant tulips is when they're not growing. So as soon as they're done blooming and the growth has just died back completely, or in the fall or the winter when they're not growing at all, that's the best time to transplant them. And basically you just take them out of the container that they're in. So these already bloomed this year, so you just kind of shake off all the dirt. And once you have the bulbs, you turn around, and the trick is to always plant them immediately back in the ground or in another container. And you can always add to them or even leave them in a paper bag if it's going to be a short period of time. But either put them right in the ground or leave them in the container, separate them out because they do get crowded. So you want to do groups of 3 at least. They don't want to be one by itself. If you haven't timed them out, then it shouldn't be by themselves. So always keep them in a group of 3 or more. And when you plant them, the tip goes up. So if you can't tell which way is up, it's like a Hershey's Kiss candy. When in doubt, go sideways. But usually it's pretty easy to tell. The tip goes up, and you just turn around and plant them right in the ground, or in this case, I'm putting them into a larger container. So I like them crowded. So I found if you have a larger container, go with 5, 7, 12 bulbs all together about 3 inches apart. And so as you transplant them too, you make sure that you don't get them too dry or you leave them too wet. You want to leave them just in some more soil or in a paper bag. So when you put them right into a container right away, because they do get crowded over the years, leave at least 3 inches in between and put them in basic triangles. So they're zigzagged as opposed to just rows. And a little bit away from the sides just so that they have some dirt to grab onto. And then I turn around and put dirt right on top of them. And with tulips, I have found that they only need to be about 3 inches deep. Books will tell you 5, 7 inches deep. But here in the Northwest anyway, it takes them forever to grow. So if you plant them too deep, I found sometimes they'll rot out. So the key is to give them good drainage. Plant them about 3 inches deep in groups of 3 or more in triangles. Make sure they've got lots of full hot sun in the springtime. So if you have a deciduous trees, that's okay because they're not going to have leaves on them in the springtime. They only have leaves in the summertime. So you can still plant them there. And if they're a container, keep the container dry in the winter. If they're in the ground, just leave them alone. Always plant them with lilies or calla lilies or crocosmias that you have blooming in the summer so you continue to water them in the summer. And if they're in a pot, throw the pot to the side of the house so it stays dry in the winter. But outside of that, transplanting tulips, you can do it anytime they're not growing or they're in bloom, and they'll come back every spring for your enjoyment.